Hey guys, Matt. I'm doing this on the fly. I haven't written anything, so it's not going to be as polished as some of my other videos where I'm trying to express kind of everything I've ever learned. I've been a reality junkie for about 5 years. I'm not sure, I'm kind of spinning my wheels at this point. I'm not sure I'm going to get any more information. So it's time to pick a side or chart a course and then live life by that course. I can't tell you what you should do. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, what I think, where I arrived or how I arrived where I am, and we'll go from there. So I don't think this is a prison planet as much as a test. Whether we agreed to come here and incarnate, we designed the test for ourselves, or it's a test from God or source, it doesn't matter because our predicament is the same. It is a test. I'm pretty sure of that. We can kind of feel, deep in our bones or in our DNA that this life has real meaning. There's a reason and there's ramifications, and there's a price to pay if we screw it up. I mean, billions and billions of people feel that way. It's the basis of religion. I am not religious in any classic sense and don't associate with any religion. This is a test. So obviously we have to pass the test. What do we get if we pass the test? Well, who knows? Who knows? But this is a test. We are more than a smelly meat suit body. We all sense there's so much more to who we are, called immortal spirit, immortal soul. People want to bicker even about what words to use. It doesn't matter. So, if this is a learning experience and a test, how do we pass it? So elementary school would be to see it and to see basically what I would call our predicament. To understand that whoever claims to be in control of this world or this realm is there simply to trip us up. Almost every facet, if you throw a dart into a dartboard and the first slice of the pie is politics and the second slice of the pie is education, everything is a fraud. Everything, pretty much, is a fraud. Almost everything is faux or fake in some way. So elementary school in this test of life is to notice it. To be able, let's just go through first grade to see that 19 guys with box cutters didn't bring down 7 buildings with 2 planes. I'm never going back there. I did that for years, and I guess, I don't know, maybe there's about 5 to 10% of us can see it. About 90% of us can't see it. Not sure what to do for those 90%, but I'm kind of done looking for answers for those 90%. So it's just to see it. But once you see it, they're not screwing you over here, but not screwing you over there. Once they're screwing you in a major way, it's not hard to extrapolate and see, even whether you do the research or not, that they're screwing you everywhere. Everything's a lie. Everything's fake, faux. Even they can't even report on a hurricane without faking it. So kindergarten through 6th grade, say, is just to see that there's some sort of system in place here related to the media and movies and Hollywood producers and politicians and what I call the George Bush creatures. There's some sort of system here. And it doesn't matter what they are, whether they're exactly human or they're something else, because the purpose of that system is to trip us up, to offer us fruit that it wants us to bite, to get us looking outside of ourselves, to get us worried about everything around us, the whirlwind around us, Kim Kardashian over here, bills that are past due over here. It wants us always focusing outside of ourselves, / it wants to trip us up. At the same time, it gets something in return for fulfilling its role. Whatever the system is, its role is to screw us and to keep us off of our path, the path of a true human being. It likely, gets something in return, the way a seal would get a fish at SeaWorld for doing the right trick. It, for those that lay down to the system, probably in a way doesn't just take our tax dollar. It's much more than tax dollars and labor. It's a spiritual battle. In some sense, it feeds off of our negative energy or frequency, or it feeds off a general level of fear and anxiety and stress that it produces in a population. It gets something from that far beyond getting off on that. Maybe it's its sustenance. I don't know. But again, chasing it is a breadcrumb. It's a pissed-on breadcrumb. So let's stop chasing it. Once we see it, we say these people around us are here to screw with us. These people around me are here to get me off track. They're here so I take a misstep. They're here to tempt me off my path. So what do? Well, obviously, we see it, and then we don't do it. We don't do it at once. Pretty simple so far. We're only in a 5th or 6th grade. Okay, let's pause and summarize for a moment. The premise of this video or this talk is this is some sort of a life test. So how do we pass the test? If you don't think this is a life test, or you're some sort of atheist listening to this and we're all just go to dust, why are you listening to this? The entire premise is this is a life test, and I'm just offering my best opinion on how to pass it. So hopefully a few more people have dropped away, and who's left, we're kind of on the same page. So again, just to regroup, the first part of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade is just to notice it. To look up and see on the news, say these shootings are fake. These shootings are fake. Or why are they're putting in a 5G network and spending billions of dollars? It's a system that nobody asked for. Nobody asked for 5G. Nobody took to the streets with signs saying my movie needs to download 5 seconds faster. Obviously, there's something else going on. The moves the system makes is mostly nefarious. So once we can see it, and not to beat a dead horse from the last section, but if you can see it in one major area, you don't have to research all the other areas. It's screwing you. If it's screwing you over here, it's screwing you everywhere. If it lied about the moon landing, well, then it lied about everything. It's not going to lie about something that major and then tell you the truth about everything else. So you don't even have to do the research past 1 or 2 major fields like I have and many people listening to this have. So 7th grade, for example, would be to notice what the system wants you to do and either don't do it or turn and run in the opposite direction. And this could be like a 24-hour segment. Just put out 4 or 5. One would be you graduate from college and then you get your master's, you have a good job lined up, and the system wants you to immediately go $350,000 in debt. Buy the new McMansion, buy the new car. So you know what you do? That's the fruit it's dangling in front of you, so you don't do it. A young woman who wants to have children, when she's only 24, so the system says, or society says, that you have to wait. All your friends around you are moving up in their pharmaceutical companies, and you have to do the same thing. Well, that dangling to keep up with the Joneses is what the system wants. So don't do it. Quit the job if your husband or other has a good job, and have the kids. I think we just do this all day long. You're in your late 40s, you've paid for your car, you've paid for your house, you get that bonus at work, and you always wanted that Corvette, always wanted it. And here's a $25,000 bonus. Oh, it would make buying that Corvette so easy, and you'd only owe like another $30,000. But you know what? Sorry. Once you've determined that this life is a test, and the basic part of passing the test is to walk the path of a true human being, to feed your own soul and spirit, and to help others, not to chase the fruit of the system, I'm sorry. You can't buy the Corvette. You can't do it. You can't have it both ways. Are you going to be neck deep swimming in the deep end of this matrix or not? Doesn't mean you have to go live in a box or sell everything. A lot of people that take this route, they sell everything. They're like that kid in the movie called Into the Wild. He, even when his car breaks down or he gets stuck in the mud, he burns his wad of cash. And you're like yelling at the kid during the movie, saying, don't do that. And most people do regret it, people that give up everything, because they say, I can't help myself if I'm just worrying about surviving. I can't help others. But there is a balance. You don't have to reject every pleasure that this realm throws at us, because it's full of wonderful and very natural pleasures that I think we all can embrace. But, at some point, you don't have to give back every bit of fruit that you've bitten off when you were a child of the Matrix. To sell the house and live in a box, in my opinion. But once you see the true path, sorry, you can't buy the Corvette. Put the bonus in the bank, take 5,000 of it, and help somebody in need. Not passing it through a giant charity that's going to take 80% for expenses and pay their CEO $1.5 million. Do it directly. Investigate, and if you just got a bonus today, well, something just happened called Hurricane Florence in North Carolina. Go down there and hand somebody $5,000 and say, you want to see a look of gratitude. You want to do something that makes you feel good. You want to get soul tokens. And soul tokens are not just about money, but do it directly. Don't do it through a non-profit of the system that's just going to piss it all away and do the absolute minimum so they maintain their tax status, or so they don't arouse suspicion. Give me a break, like the American Red Cross. Sure, they do a lot for thousands of people. They'd have to. They have to keep up the ruse. It's mostly a scam. Anyway, pretty simple. What are we at, 7th or 8th grade here? You just simply notice what it wants and don't do it. Pretty simple. So moving into 9th grade, we'll call fighting the system. But warning, it has to be done the right way, or you're playing right into what it wants. The last section was kind of fighting the system. It's a, drug dealer pusher man. Here, take these drugs, kid. It'll make you feel good. No thanks, Mr. Drug Dealer. Not today. And you just walk by him. That's what we did in the last section. We just reject what it wants. And that is fighting the system, no doubt. But how do you take that to the next level in terms of truly fighting the system, which really means starving the system? Fighting is not the right word, although for some reason I felt like I had to use it in this section. If you feel you're going to go join a militia and you're going to take back the country by force if necessary, what Alex Jones alluded to in his fake rant to Piers Morgan, 1776 will commence again if you take our guns. See, that's exactly what the system wants. That adrenaline rush, and I'm going to get them, even using violence, and that's what it wants. Plus, give me a break. The system as it exists today is like Mike Tyson, and imagine kind of what you were in kindergarten. I mean, it's 1,000 times beyond that ridiculous comparison. So you can't fight it anyway. I mean, those that truly think they're going to fight it with violence, it's really delusional on multiple fronts. So you starve it, but you don't just starve it by not buying the materialistic goods in the mall. That was the last part. But you can carry forward the last part, and the most important area where you starve it is by not getting into bed with its contracts. Of course, the most obvious one is voting. I mean, it wants you to vote so desperately. Rock the vote. Get out the vote. Because if these George Bush creatures are ever called in front of a cosmic court one day, the first thing their defense attorney will say is, these people, we didn't impose anything on them they didn't want. They actually went out and voted for it. They gave campaign contributions. This segment of about 15 million assholes actually took off work to go vote. They wanted the system that we didn't impose anything on them, Your Honor. We operated within our cosmic boundaries. So you don't ever take its contracts, starting with voting. Nobody listening to this should ever vote again at any level, ever, unless, you know, the world is completely flipped upside down and it lands on the good side. Now, we've entered into contracts our whole lives, our entire life, and that is a problem. And I don't know exactly how to navigate that. There's all sorts of stuff on the internet about your legal fiction, and I'm certainly not recommending that at this time. It's good to educate yourself. Be very wary on trying to apply that. Probably would get you thrown in jail in about 24 hours. You know, you've heard all the stories about the legal fiction that appears on your birth certificate in all caps, on your Social Security card in all caps. Yeah, they set up a legal fiction, your straw man, and they do business. The system does business with that entity, not with you as a sovereign, soulful being. But for some reason, they have to do it that way. People that dabble in that topic generally think they do it for money, and it's just about trading your straw man on the stock market. I don't know why they can't see what's plainly obvious to me. It's a spiritual battle. It's part of the spiritual battle. They don't need money. They don't need to trade you on a stock market because they need money. They can print all the money they want. You know, the old stories of struggle for your soul itself. So we've made contracts our entire lives, and you can't just burn your birth certificate and burn your Social Security card. So that is an issue. But it starts with just noticing where the system wants you to make contracts. And are you going to continue to make contracts, or are you going to try to nullify as many as you can, even verbally? Even if you have to stand up or go up on your roof and stand up and say, you know, I learned that when contracts are made under duress or when they're made under fraudulent basis, you know, say it out loud to your trees. Say it to the universe that contracts aren't binding. And yeah, I'm kind of stuck because I have a house here and I have kids to take care of and I have to operate using my legal fiction, but I didn't know about any of this. And I declare it fraudulent because I wasn't told a damn thing. Hey, why not? That might be good evidence in the cosmic court someday. So it is touchy, but you can notice when the system wants you to enter into contracts, and the most obvious one is voting. Now, the second part of fighting it is not only do you just starve its malls, but it wants you in a constant state of fear, anxiety, called flight or fight anxiety, anger, once you pissed off at it. That's why it throws out those mistakes around the fake events, because it wants the people noticing angry. It wants you to get angry. These mistakes around the fake events aren't mistakes at all. They're put there on purpose. Now, they're not dumb enough to think an inflated aircraft tire can survive a crash into a building and then a huge jet fuel driven fireball and then a 90 floor drop onto the cement. No, they don't think, you know, tires can do that. They didn't make a mistake. These things are put there on purpose so people notice and get angry. And then you get angry and some Harry Potter Demented type creature sucks the negative energy that you throw out into the world or into the ether. So this also goes back to giving it what it wants. Somebody cuts you off on the freeway. Who knows if that's even a real person that cut you off? Part of this matrix. Whatever this matrix is, however real you think it is. And there's a reason road rage is so easily triggered, because there's no real reason for it. And there's all these theories. Why do people have road rage? They feel so powerful behind the wheel. I don't know. I think it's kind of what we've been bred to do by this matrix. And when we scream at the person that cuts us off with anger, there's some part of the system, maybe it's not the George Bush creature himself, maybe it's the dog of the George Bush creature, that little creature that kept, staring at the tail of Jabba the Hutt, something like that feeds off of it whenever you scream at somebody and do road rage. You just rise above it, and your soul and spirit comes with, And if enough people did it and took the right path, fighting the system, fighting the power would be as simple as enough people simply starving it to death. All right, let's try to move into 11th grade. We need to pass 12th. We got to graduate. At least got to get our life GED. We've got to satisfy the requirements of this life test. But where are we? Okay, this person's come a long way, but still, they're just barely moving into 11th grade. There's still more to be done. But, okay, they see the fraud of this world. Maybe the route this person took is a route many people do, the 9/11 route. Boy, that opens your eyes up to just about everything, doesn't it? So they see the fraud of this world, and they pretty much see everything's a fraud. Everything's a screw job. These creatures are just out to trip me up. So that person didn't buy that second house they were going to, and they kind of circled the wagons around the old car, and gave some more money to charities that really benefit tragedies, and they volunteered a little bit, and they learned that they really do believe that the system will dangle its fruit, and this person kind of stopped taking the fruit, and the person still does some road rage and gets angry from time to time, but they catch themselves and they go, I'm feeding the system, and they're not afraid anymore. They've done enough investigation on their own to truly believe that they are immortal beings, immortal spirits, and they don't need a man-made infrastructure of religion to carry their soul off to that special place. They don't need Joel Osteen, so not afraid anymore, not afraid, and they're doing pretty well. They having this person. I'm kind of describing myself to a degree, but let's just call it this person. Hasn't bought anything new in a mall in 5 years. Not even a Christmas present. So it's trying to starve that system any way possible. But I'm not sure it's enough. Okay, is it enough? I don't think so. And that gets us into what is that last little bit that we need to do to pass this life test. Just don't sense that's enough, even though this person at this stage has done an awful lot, more than 99% of the other script zombies that we interact with. It still might not be enough, and that's what we need to explore now. Up until this point, it's true, I have kind of prescribed a route, a clearly defined route with clearly defined steps that anybody can take to get to a certain point, to get past elementary school and move into high school. But to really graduate, I think this is where the paths diverge in millions and millions and millions of different ways for all of us. And what's good for me is not going to be good for you, and this is where you have to find your inner voice, your inner guidance. But for me, the best way to think about it is, okay, we've done all the basics. We've done all the basics in terms of starving out the system. But what should I do going forward? And I think the basic place to start is to think of this life, or to think of the entire universe like a filter. I've never presented the filter analogy, but I'll present it now, and I really like it. It's we've all been brainwashed to think that whatever created all of this, again, I don't like the word God, but it's easy, everybody understands it, so we'll just use it. But whatever created all of this, I don't think it's, God made man in his image. It's somebody walking around with arms and legs. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's something that I believe we are a part of. Obviously we're a part of, but we don't, at least in this incarnation, on this 3D realm, we are part of it, but we don't understand it. But let's just call it God. We all have been brainwashed that God must be perfect. Well, why? Why do we assume that? Yeah, if there's a creator of the universe, that's pretty amazing. But it's arrogant to say we know God's perfect. Maybe God's not perfect. Maybe God sprinkled little aspects of himself in not just in this snow globe or into this petri dish, but in trillions of other places somewhere else. And then maybe there's a big reverse osmosis filter, so only the purity can get back through, and the 10% or the pieces that come back that can pass through the filter, that can pass the life test, get back to creation. Maybe it's that simple. To me, this reality does seem like a filter, a weed out process, like a bell curve in high school. We're still in high school here. And obviously, potentially upon our death, whether they try to recycle us back again, or there's tricks to recycle us back again, that's all possible. But that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video assumes if you pass the life test, they're probably not going to be able to trick you into a recycling trap, or enter this moon door here and there's a big pizza waiting for you in there, and it's just fresh out of the oven. Then you go through the moon door and Saturn smacks you right back to Earth. I'm thinking if you pass the life test, they probably can't touch you. That's what my inner knowing tells me. Whether we've been recycled back here or not, it's irrelevant to where we are now. Sure, it's not a bad idea to spend a lot of time trying to at least be aware of what tricks could happen. what tricks we hear about in near-death experiences and things like that. But that is the point. Is if you pass go and collect $200, they hopefully or probably can't touch you. So it's just, have you done enough to get through the filter? Have you done enough to be pure? I really think it could come down to that. And it gets back to it's arrogant to say, oh, God must be perfect. Well, anybody that says they know anything about God, it's the most arrogant thing in the world. Preachers will tell you what God wants from you. Are you kidding me? You know how disgustingly arrogant that is? That to speak for God or say what God would want? Give me a break. I don't know that God isn't perfect. I'm just saying we don't know. And one possibility is we are a trillion little parts of creation that is here to actually refine creation, refine ourselves. And maybe we can pass through the filter if we've done enough. And Anderson Cooper and people that hang out with George Bush, it's probably like taking a reverse osmosis filter under your kitchen sink and pouring a bunch of sludge in it. It's not going to go very far. But have we done enough? So at this point, if we've done all the basics, I'm not sure that's pure enough. Like reverse osmosis, the water is 99 point whatever % pure, and then it can pass through the filter, and you drink pure water, distilled water. So, but we have a million different choices at this point, and it's I don't think it's something we have to chart every year out. It's every choice we make in life. It could be that simple. Recently, I guess I was driving by somebody, and they were kind of broken down, and I drove back, and I said, "Do you need help?" And I use this example a lot, but it's a good example. I saw an older woman in the grocery store. Was it a man or a woman? It was a woman. She looked like she was limping a bit. And I went over and I helped with groceries. I would have never done this shit 5 or 7 or 10 years ago. I'm a different person, totally a different person. Believe it or not, I attribute a lot of that. Well, a lot of it is attributed to this wake-up process, seeing the creatures that are in control here, and getting more in touch with my spiritual self. But my believe it or not, my cat Belle, I'll give her 20% of the credit. I'm a different person after taking care of that cat. All the issues and problems and medical problems, and I've never given of myself. I've just been selfish. I never had any brothers or sisters. Just caring for something like I never have before. So at this point, pushing into 12th grade, there is no charted course. It's every time you turn around in life, are you going to do something that can help you, shine up a little bit, purify yourself, shine that car up a bit, get through the filter? Is your action going to help you get through that filter? Or is your action going to not help you get through that filter? It's that simple. And, I guess in the average day, there might be like 10 moments, I would say, per day, where people can choose to help themselves get through the filter, or are they gonna harm themselves in getting through the life test filter? They don't have to drop everything. In my opinion, they have to sell everything and go volunteer 12 hours on Saturday and 5 hours then on Sunday at the soup kitchen. That all helps. I think that all helps. Who knows what's watching or in the Akashic records, whatever that is, but somebody's paying attention if this is a life test. And somebody's making sure we're not cheating if this is a life test. Because maybe that's what that whole creepy metaphor of Santa Claus is. He knows when you've been bad or good, and who knows, right? So 10 moments of the day, we're going to help put a soul token back into ourselves while helping others. Every time you help somebody, a soul token appears out of the air. You can snatch it up for yourself. And it also depends on your own interpretation of how you refine yourself, so you can potentially at the moment of your death get through the filter. You might do a lot for a lot of people, and you might bring positivity and joy to this world, and maybe that beach house is what you've really wanted. It's probably using up a few soul tokens. It's jumping back into the materialism of this realm, and the taxing authorities will get your tax dollars, and the beach taggers will get your $300 you need to pay each summer for a beach tag. And yeah, that's not good, and that's feeding the system. But maybe you're doing so many other things. You feel pure. And who knows? In the end of the day, maybe we're our own judge, because you can't lie to yourself, can you? And whoever's watching will know. Maybe that's the key to everything. We always think it's for others, for this secret invisible camera that's watching our lives. Maybe it's ourselves. Maybe when we die, they say, "Did you do enough?" And don't lie. We know everything you're thinking. And you can't lie to yourself. You can't fool yourself. Say, "I did enough. I did enough." You'll know. I think it just kind of hit me. We'll know ourselves whether we did enough. We're here to we're here to judge ourselves, and then whatever truly decides our fate says, "You never knew it. You were the judge." And you can't lie. Can't lie. Very interesting. Well, that's pretty much everything I have, guys. I will close with this. Those that make it so complicated, and there's all this stuff all over the internet about whether this is a matrix, a hologram, a simulation. I favor that, no doubt. But it doesn't matter. It's still our soul, spirit having an experience in this avatar body, whether the avatar is real or not, or a matrix. It doesn't matter. Our experience is the same. We know there's this system of George Bush creatures around us trying to screw us. And no matter what happens, there's all this stuff on the internet about end times, and it's the end of the world, and Planet X is coming in, and what does it matter? What does it matter? Because if you believe in a route like the one I just prescribed, we don't know whether we're going to die in a week or a month or a year from stepping in front of a bus. We have no guarantee we're going to live to the mortality table prescribed, 76 point whatever the Liberty Mutual life insurance tables say. We don't know. So we could die at any time for any reason. So whether there's going to be a world cataclysm or a second sun is coming in behind Sirius, like, who cares? What we have to do is the same. Everything else is a distraction. Because something like that's possible. You can step in front of a bus too. Let's get started making the right choices at those 10 key moments per day. Maybe it's even just smiling at someone and trying to, or someone that needs a little bit of pick me up, saying how cool their shirt is, I mean, who knows? It's just about satisfying your own requirements on what it takes to walk the path of a true human being. So let's get started today. And then, we always hear about looking ourselves in the mirror. Maybe someday, maybe some of us have a lot more work to do because we're real assholes in our teens and 20s and 30s and beat people up and did drugs and sold drugs. Or some people might have a lot more work to do than others to get pure. Is the water a little cloudy or is it just sludge? The sludge, you've got to filter that fucker 1,000 times. Where the water that's a little cloudy, maybe it needs just a little daily filtering to be able to pass through the membrane or the filter. So, we got to start now. We got to start now. And I know it's not much, and I have a lot of work to do. But I walked into the cat shelter about a month ago. And I said, what's the worst cat you have, the hardest one to adopt? And they said, we have one here that's not even on the website. And she's just constantly terrified of everything. She hides in her hole, never comes out, terrified of people, acts strange. We think she's deaf. She's missing 2 key teeth or the fang. I said, I'll take her. She looked a lot like Belle. That kind of helped. But I said, I'll take her. And, it's been tough. She's been downstairs. She won't come upstairs. She hid in a hole for weeks. But she's starting to come out. And she's starting to warm up to me. She lets me pet her now. And she won't just run away like she used to. And she's acting like a real cat again. Like she was just dead to the world. Just dead to the world. Just like was in catatonic. Almost like her life was over. And now a squirrel goes by outside and she'll look up and notice and act like a cat. And she's not as deaf as they said. I see her, her ears kind of perk up at certain times. I think she was just dead to the world. And her, whatever you could call her soul or spirit, is coming back to life. And, hey, is that going to get me into heaven? What I did at the cat shelter? No, but for me, it's a good start. Is what I've done for the past 5 to 7 years in trying to wake people up to this system. Is that going to get me through the filter by itself? No, not at all. For many years, I'm sure I did more harm than good, creating videos that made people fearful. Instead of giving a positive message, I played right into their hands for years, no doubt about it. But I learned from it. And think I refined myself in this process. Gave myself a few soul tokens so I can pass through the filter at some point. This life's a test. Some people that say everything here is backwards. Everything is backwards. So it's likely, when we were born, wasn't that wonderful? We likely died, as Levette would say, coming into this realm. And if we pass the life test, when we die, it'll be a birth. It will be our birth. Everything is backwards in this dualistic, mad, screwed up realm or plane or snow globe or petri dish. So why wouldn't death and birth be backwards as well? Just do enough so on your deathbed you're confident. You're confident you've done enough, and you're confident those creepy bastards can't touch you. Thanks for listening.